Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome. Today we're going to be discussing the absolute powerhouse of a new moon that we're going to be experiencing on October 21st, 2025 in the sign of Libra. This is the most potent new moon, I do believe, of 2025. And as you continue to watch this video, you are going to understand why I'm going to break all of this down for you. And I'm also going to help you understand what you can best do to maximize these energies. This new moon is transforming the very fabric of our reality. And I do not say that lightly. We have the sun and the moon conjunct at 28 degrees of Libra, 29 according to some, but my chart says 28 degrees, but still in these final degrees of Libra, and also conjunct the comet, the spacecraft, whatever you want to call it. Different people have different feels as to what 3i Atlas is, but it is going to be in alignment with the sun from our vantage point on the earth. Now, 3i Atlas has its perihelion, which is where it comes astronomically closest to the sun at the end of October. But from our vantage point on earth, that alignment with the sun is occurring on the 21st. So you're going to hear a bunch of different dates for that. It just depends on how you are looking at it. We are present and incarnated on this planet. So if we really want to understand how the cosmos are affecting our experience on this planet, it makes sense to judge that by how we are viewing and perceiving things from where we are right now. This is not to say that we're not going to continue to feel 3i Atlas as it is coming closer and closer to the sun. When a planet comes very close to the sun, a planet, a body, whatever you want to call any of these space objects, right? When it comes really close to the sun, it charges up the sun, and the sun distributes that energy to us via its rays. So when you are absorbing the rays of the sun, you're absorbing the energy of the different astrological bodies that are coming into connection with it. And of course, this is like alignment with it, not necessarily like right on top of it. If anything was right on top of the sun would melt it away because the sun is so powerful and so potent. That's the really cool thing about these astrological alignments. Some of the points that we're going to be talking about, like the Shapley attractor, are trillions of light years away, right? But we still feel the energy of it when they move into alignment with one another, no matter how much space is in between. Those of you who've ever received a distance healing session, which I do offer, by the way, distance actually sometimes makes things more powerful. I think from my perspective, when I'm working with a client remotely, the reason why it is so powerful is because I'm able to just tune in and tap into their energy without all the distraction of the outer world. But that connection can happen anywhere. I have clients that I work with all over the world. This is just a little miniature version. So that energy, because of the distance, does not make it less potent. And the same thing is true with astrology and with these different bodies, deep space objects, super cosmic points. As they come into these alignments, that energy can be felt. So yes, we have the sun, the moon, 3i Atlas, all lined up with a point known as the Shapley attractor, which is the most magnetic point in space. This point in space houses the most galaxies within it. It is literally like slurping at all of the known universe that we are aware of and drawing it all into its orbit. There's a very deep and potent energy connected to the Shapley attractor. The nexus of the energy is at 2 degrees of Scorpio, but we feel this energy into the late degrees of Libra and all through the early degrees of Scorpio. We could even say like the last 10 degrees of Libra and the first 10 degrees of Scorpio, if we were to be generous. So this is absolutely going to be impacting this new moon. It is also loosely conjunct the asteroid Haumea, or Haumea, depending on how you like to say it. And this is an asteroid that is connected with these energies of regeneration, of rebirth. This is named after a Hawaiian goddess who is essentially like a personification of the Divine Mother. She is the mother of the fire goddess Pele. She is essentially the original creatrix energy. Haumea is known to be able to birth children from all parts of her body and to regenerate all parts of her body. So she chants She stands for not only divine feminine energy of creation, but also the energy of regeneration and how it is that we can constantly rebirth ourselves. So I see Haumea here conjunct this new moon as kind of like a midwife that is helping to birth the new world that is coming forth from this new moon. And the reason I'm really feeling this, besides all the minor aspects that we're going to get into as a rebirthing energy for the planet itself, is because of that location on top of the Shapley attractor primarily. Now, the Shapley attractor is connected very much to the collective. It's connected to scorpionic and plutonic themes of power as well as integrity. And something really fascinating about the Shapley attractor is that a lot of the people who kind of have, we could say, a hidden hand in the collective and influence over the collective have points conjunct the Shapley attractor. Now, many of these people are very well known, such as Bill Gates, and I could list Elon Musk. There's so many people, right? Many of our politicians, world leaders, these tech giants, so many of these people, they have like an outward influence that we can see, but they have a much deeper influence that we cannot see. If there's anyone that we feel has like a real impact, whether sinister or perhaps more benevolent, a lot of the people that I found, there is a lot of people believe more of a sinister, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's always the case. It's like we said, it's all about power and how you use it. But a lot of these people, their points conjunct the Shapley more often than not tend to be concentrated more in the late degrees of Libra, particularly the South Node, I've noticed. The Sun and the South Node, and also like Neptune. So this is a generational planet, so we can see a generation of these people being born who would wield this influence, perhaps because of their connection to the Shapley. But that South Node I find really fascinating. So it's going to be really interesting to note that this new moon is going to be occurring for many people loosely conjunct the Shapley attractor. So this means loosely conjunct whatever planets they have going on here. And this actually just emphasizes the energy that I was feeling, which is the dissolving of the old guard. And what's really kind of bringing this forth for me is the fact that we have 3i Atlas there, as well as Haumea. So 3i Atlas, many people have many different ideas, as we said, about what this astrological or astronomical body is. Some are calling it a comet. Some believe it is an alien craft. When I channeled into it, and if you missed the live stream that we did on that, I highly recommend you watch it. It was so fascinating. What came through for me was that it's actually a piece of a 12D or higher planet, similar to Earth in another star system, and that it holds the consciousness of the beings that inhabit that planet because they are completely merged with their planet. They're one consciousness. This is part of what we're moving back into through our ascension as we reconnect with our planet, Gaia. Okay, so I was feeling their consciousness traveling with this thing, this, whatever you want to call it, we'll say comet for right now, okay? And I was also feeling that they were the seeders of the seeders, was the way it came through, of humanity. So this would be the seeders that created the beings that created us. So these would be like the Lyrans, the Arcturians. There are quite a few different extraterrestrial races that had a heavy hand, we could say, in creating human life and getting this planet ready for human life. So I thought that was really fascinating. So what I was getting was that this body is coming through and it is literally dissolving density. It's activating us. It's activating cellular memories within us of our lives and past star systems, helping us to remember the truth and the beauty of who we are. I think that's a big reason why the phrase that I got for 2025 was I remember. Because we're remembering that, because these codes within us are being activated, our DNA and all the memories that it holds is being activated through a myriad of things, including this new moon portal and 3i Atlas. So it's dissolving the density, it's activating our DNA, it's helping us to remember who we are, it's opening up and expanding that heart chakra. And as it does this, and it comes into conjunction with the Shapley attractor and with this new moon and Haumea, right? There is this powerful clearing that's going on here, where the density being dissolved has to do with the people and the systems that up until now were sort of guiding the trajectory of humanity. Now, this is not a singular event. We have been going through this process of dissolving the false matrix for quite some time. Really, it began or really kicked into a higher gear, we could say, in 2012. And in 2020, we saw a big resurgence, 2020 and 2021, of this energy. And it's basically been a snowball rolling downhill ever since. So we've been in this process. 3i Atlas is coming through to really move things along here. And to now begin that process, we've dissolved the false matrix. It only is upheld now in the hearts and minds of those who are still indoctrinated into it. And there are, we could say, the controllers of the false matrix. And if you guys want to know what the false matrix is, I'll link a video for you at the end of this one. What is the AI inverted matrix and how do we ascend out? I might have changed the title, but it's something similar to that still. You'll see it come up in the very last 20 seconds of this video that you can click on. That'll get more deeply into that. We're not going to go into all of that here. What we're going to say is that the human bodies and representatives of this energy are going to be losing their hold over humanity. We could expect a lot to be revealed. The Shapley attractor is a point that always reveals truth. It may take some time, but the truth always comes out. This is one of the ways, one of the lessons that we learn around power, because if we have been abusing it, ultimately that the hand will be shown, right? So we can expect people's hands to be shown around this time. We can expect just their grip on the collective to loosen even more. And the grip of the false matrix, as far as the indoctrination goes, like we said, it is the only way it's hanging on right now is through the hearts and minds of those who have been indoctrinated into it. Because we as a collective create our collective reality through the sum of our collective beliefs. So as those collective beliefs continue to shift, as our collective vibration continues to shift, this is what the ascension process is. All the tethers at this point have been removed, except for the ones that we hold within ourselves. All the outer tethers are gone. So now it's about that shift happening internally within each and every single one of us. And this new moon is a potent example of that energy. So that is the first energy here that we are looking into. And I'm not sure if I said, I did a couple takes at the beginning of this before I got going here. I'm not sure if I mentioned, for those who are new, that every new moon and full moon is a portal. Just like the eclipses are portals, just like other major planetary alignments are portals, essentially gateways or openings of energy through which we can have different experiences for our regeneration and transformation. So this new moon as a portal absolutely does not disappoint. Now, as we continue to move forward here with the astrology, and I am going to throw up the chart for you guys as I'm perusing my own chart so that you can see sort of this energy. You might not understand how to read it, but you'll be able to see the symbols. If you know the symbols for the sun and the moon, you'll see them together on the left-hand side of the chart in the sign of Libra. You're going to see Mars and Mercury together in the sign of Scorpio with Black Moon Lilith. So that's an intense energy right there. And they are involved in a grand water trine with Jupiter in Cancer and also with the North Node in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces. So this is a really beautiful alignment that's bringing together a lot of powerful and potent energy to remind us what matters, to light that fire inside of us, to get that passion and that desire to move us in the direction of our soul's greatest fulfillment and alignment, which is what that North Node energy is all about, especially in the sign of Pisces. It's about aligning us with our higher self, aligning us with the higher plan for our lives, and helping us to evolve spiritually. Pisces being the 12th sign of the zodiac, very connected to that oneness energy, that unity consciousness, the Christ consciousness that we are in the process of remembering, right? That consciousness is dawning in each of us. And the way Spirit's showing it to me right now is almost like these little lights clicking on as that Christ consciousness gets activated within people. It's like we're all little lights that are turning on. And I'm seeing these lights. I'm seeing how it's been up until this point with these little lights which we could liken to the light workers, the star seeds. And a light worker, as Carrie Kay likes to say, and I love how she says this, is simply somebody who works with light, who works with energy. All right. And who does this consciously. We're all light workers. It's just whether we're turned on yet. So we have the light workers who are turned on, like these little beams of light all over the planet. And Spirit's showing me with this new moon, more and more lights. It's like they're activating one after another, just boom, 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 boom. So like, and this is the grid that we're creating, the grid that is part of one of many things that helps to lift us up into this higher consciousness as a collective. So, just take a minute to feel into that. Now, with all of these energies, this grand water trine, this is activating our emotional body. This might be moving things through our emotional body, so you may feel a lot of intensity. And this grand water trine is active even as I'm recording this video. In fact, on the day that I'm recording this video, I'm terrible with dates. I think it's the 13th of October. We actually had the moon earlier today, conjunct Jupiter, adding its energy into this equation, which was really, really beautiful. So this has been supporting us moving through October, and it's going to continue to support us for a little bit after the new moon as well. But it's really giving that stabilizing energy to the emotional body. It's activating our intuition. And like we said, it's connecting us with our higher selves, with that Mars conjunct Black Moon Lilith energy here. And Mercury, it's helping with breakthroughs within the mental body, considering where it is that we have held ourselves back, where it is that we have felt repressed or suppressed, and how it is that we're ready to step out of that energy now and embody something different. Saturn in Pisces active in this grand water trine as well. Saturn in Pisces is completing a cycle that we've been working with for a few years now. I believe it was 2023 that Saturn entered the sign of Pisces. This is the last hurrah for Saturn, this retrograde back into Pisces. Saturn will move into Aries in 2026 and will hit that 0 degree mark with Neptune in February, and that's when they will have their great conjunction. They've been with each other, they're connected to each other right now, but that energy is going to really reach its peak when they reunite fully at 0 degrees of Aries, that birthing degree, that world degree, the world axis. So that's going to be a massive, we got massive astrology coming in 2026 as well. This year has been a big year of transition. We've had the outer planets all switching signs, Pluto stabilizing into Aquarius. We've had Uranus moving into Gemini. We had Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries. There's been a lot of retrogrades clearing out the final sort of sweep through the final degrees of the sign that they were in before. In 2026 is when they all move squarely into their new sign. So this has been a year of flux. This has been a year of going back to tie up loose ends, to finish some unfinished business before we move into this new energy. And Spirit's saying a lot of people are going to relate to this because we've really been feeling this, I think, where we're feeling the new energy. We're feeling that new timeline that we're aligning with, right? Everyone keeps talking about this massive timeline split that we're experiencing. And I think 3i Atlas is going to play a big role in that, as through December, it continues to be very, very close to the Earth before then moving past us here. Or at least that appears to be what it's going to do. We shall see. We shall see. It hasn't been behaving like a typical comet or asteroid. So that's what we're anticipating is going to happen with it anyway. I'm just going to leave that right there. But there is this energy here where we've been feeling that new energy. It's like we've wanted to jump into it, but it feels for a lot of us, I think, like we keep getting pulled backwards again. It's like, oh no, you're almost there, but first you got to finish this. First, you got to wrap this up. Oh, that old habit, that old part of you that you thought you left behind, now you're going to confront it again. Right? And we're like, what is happening? It's like 1 step forward and 10 steps back. That's actually a reading that I just did for my minis channel and TikTok. For those of you who follow me there, if you don't, the minis channel is in the description box below. Go ahead and check me out there as well if you want little bite-sized readings. I do those pretty much daily at this point for that channel. And definitely on TikTok, they usually make it to the minis channel as well. Just as an aside here. But that's been the energy. And part of the reason for that is because of all these outer planets moving forward and then moving back to complete their cycles. So Saturn here is completing another cycle, and I always have trouble remembering like all the dates for all of this stuff. I really take my hat off to the astrologers who have all of this like cataloged in their minds. But we can say a 29-ish year cycle that Saturn began when Saturn first entered Aries to complete, because you can think about it as a complete cycle around the zodiac, starting with Aries, ending in Pisces. Now Saturn is at the end of that 29-ish year cycle and beginning a brand new cycle in the sign of Aries. So that is a massive energy as well. It's not just about this dip into Pisces that Saturn began in, like I said, I want to say it was like March 2023. Somebody drop it in the comments below if you remember exactly when that was. You can think about that, what you've been experiencing, what you've been learning around those Saturnian themes, those Piscean themes of powerlessness and victimhood, of outsourcing our spirituality and then needing to go back within, right, to make that connection with the self. There's a lot of these old Piscean energies that we're clearing out as we're moving into the higher octave of that energy, able to embody, as the North Node is calling us to do, the higher octave of that, which is the unity consciousness, the Christ consciousness, finding empowerment through our eternal being, through seeing and understanding ourselves as eternal reflections of Source, sparks of Source. We can get bogged down in all the minutia of the day-to-day and all the traumas, all the things that we go through if we look at it from a human perspective. But the trick for Pisces to not cause that, which then is where the escapism and all the other stuff that Piscean energy can be known for to come in, is when we take that bird's eye view. Oh, my soul wanted to learn that. Oh, my soul agreed to that so that it could grow, so that it could expand. Remember, we talk about this on this channel quite a bit. Your soul doesn't care if you're comfortable. Your soul honestly doesn't even care if you're happy. Yes, ultimately it would like you to be, but your soul wants to grow. It wants to experience. It wants to evolve. That is the bottom line here. And with this conjunction, with this new moon to the Shapley attractor, that is in full focus. Pluto, which rules Scorpio, which is what the zodiac sign that is in alignment with the Shapley attractor. If we place it in the zodiac wheel, like we said, 2 degrees of Scorpio is a concentration, the nexus of that energy, right around where Haumea is sort of doing her thing right now. So 28, 29 degrees of Libra, where the new moon, very close to this, in conjunction range with that Shapley. And that Shapley energy, where was I going with that? Sometimes when I start explaining things, I forget what I was talking about. So give me a second to feel into this. It's connected to Pluto, right? Being that it has a very Plutonic vibe to it. Those themes of power, integrity, really knowing the self on a deep level, the shadow work, all of those aspects, those shadow energies, what's under the surface that we don't readily see, but we feel. Right, that energy of influence. And what's interesting right now is that we have Pluto actually squaring the Shapley attractor. And so Pluto is squaring this new moon. Now, Pluto is in the early degrees of Aquarius. During this new moon, Pluto is at 1 degree of Aquarius, having just stationed direct, actually the day that I'm filming this, on the 13th of October. So Pluto is strong again. Pluto is moving back into and toward that exact conjunction with the fixed star Altair. Altair, a star system who went through what Earth is going through right now. These energies of some among it choosing that negative polarization, the mind, I almost said mind washing, right? It is, right? Brainwashing, mind control, the fear tactics, all of these entrapments of these agents of the false matrix. And there was a contingent upon Altair who were essentially like the freedom fighters. And many of those freedom fighters are on Earth right now. So I found it interesting with this Pluto square, the Shapley. What came through surrounding that was that a lot of these freedom fighters from Altair are present here right now, and they're getting initiated. And this, for many people, could also be, I'm feeling right now like the Pluto and Scorpio generation. If others like me are part of that generation, particularly in the early 80s, if you were born in those early to mid 80s, like we'll say like 1980 to 1986, 1987, 88 even. So really most of the 80s you have this Pluto and Scorpio energy in those early degrees, right around where that SHAPLEY attractor is. So this is our Pluto square that we're going through right now, which is once in a lifetime thing. This is one of the biggest turning points, honestly. I think bigger than a Saturn return, because we get pretty much, if we live to 60, we get 2 of those at least. Some people may even get 3 if they have a lot of longevity to them. And as we ascend, of course, all of us are going to be living far beyond that. But in our current experience of reality, we can say 2 Saturn returns, 1 Pluto square, never a Pluto return, because it takes over 200 years for Pluto to make a complete lap around the zodiac. So this is big, just this energy in general. And I'm feeling a connection with that Altair right now. So we could have a lot of freedom fighters in that Pluto and Scorpio generation. That this generation, these are the shadow workers. These are the priestesses and priests. These are those souls with that ability to really submerge themselves in the darkness, right? To dive for light, as we like to say. So there's a major activation going on for all of my Pluto and Scorpio generation right now. And also, as I said, as I was feeling for all of the Altairian star seeds. So if you have any planets or points around 1 to 2 degrees of Aquarius, then they are conjunct the fixed star Altair. And you could very likely be dealing with some of these themes and energies and have lifetimes there. There are many different star systems that have been under attack. And we can say have been, were, are, right? Time is actually an infinite now. So this is all happening in the same time in a certain manner of speaking. But if we're looking at it through linear time, some of these star systems have this ongoing conflict. Some have resolved this conflict, but Earth is not isolated in this. We are not alone in this. Many starseeds came here to flee what was happening on their planets, only to come to a planet where the same thing was happening. Some chose it because we wanted to come here and help humanity fight for freedom. Others of us kind of ended up here and then realized, like, oh shit, the same thing's happening here. We're going to have to face this, right? There's no running. No matter what, like reincarnation doesn't just happen on Earth, right? Anyone who's watching this video, if you're still watching it, obviously you're down with this idea of reincarnation and galactic heritage, or you wouldn't still be listening to this video. Your brain would have turned off a long time ago. So, yeah. And by the way, if you are enjoying this content, go ahead and give this video a like, share it with somebody that you know, subscribe if you haven't yet. It really, really helps the channel, and I really, truly appreciate it. All right, moving on to these Altairian starseeds. So there's no running, right? We have to face whatever it is that our soul signed up for. So there's this activation in some of those starseeds who were fleeing, where they're realizing and beginning to have those memories of what they were running from. And the fact that they cannot run anymore, that they're here, they're in it for the long haul. So Pluto squaring this new moon, even though it's at 29 degrees of Libra, Pluto's in the 1st degrees of Aquarius. It's an out of sign square, but it's still within the realm of a square. It's just a couple degrees. So it's still a pretty tight square, even though, of course, moving into Scorpio is when we would have that exact square. With the sun and the moon in Scorpio, Pluto and Aquarius, it's still it is a square, and we're feeling that pressure from Pluto. But that pressure is also what is helping us evolve, what is pushing us to face our shadow, to face our perceived limitations, to face whatever inside of ourselves we have wanted to run and hide from, and to own those aspects of ourselves that need to be owned, to release the aspects of ourselves that need to be released, that were never us in the first place, so that we can align with this new Earth, with this highest timeline for our own evolution. And what Spirit wants to bring through right now as well is the importance of understanding that this is our evolution. Everybody chooses their own path, and we have to honor everybody's path. That's going to be a lesson. Remember, we're in the final degrees of Libra. Libra rules the 7th house. It is about partnership. It is ruled by Venus. All right, so there is a big theme of connections, relationships, partnerships. This may be a make it or break it. In terms of that, this could be a fresh start. New moons are new energy, right? Could be a fresh start in your relationships, not just romantic. This could be friendships, connections. There's a rebirthing happening. But it's up to each of us to understand and truly accept whether our connections are meant to be rebirthed or whether we're meant to let them die. And die sounds harsh, but we're talking in Plutonian terms here, right? Some of these relationships we have to let go. Maybe not forever, but people have to have, we cannot do people the disservice of disallowing them their path. And we cannot do ourselves the disservice of clinging to somebody who's essentially like a stone sinking. All right? If you tie yourself to a stone, you will sink. This is why when they wanted to sink dead bodies, they tied them to a brick. And I know this sounds really cutthroat to put it like this, but you have to look at the relationships in your lives. Who is a brick and is going to sink me to the bottom of the ocean, of my evolutionary path? And who is the balloon that's going to help me rise? That's going to rise with me, we should say, right? The temptation that there's going to be major energies that some people are working through with codependency, with I can't leave my family, I can't leave my loved ones to the lower timeline. It's not about leaving them to the lower timeline. It's not about the lower timeline getting them. It's about what they're choosing. We are each sovereign beings and we each get to choose. And yes, it hurts like hell when our loved ones choose a path that we know they don't have to walk, but maybe they do. Maybe they do. Maybe for their soul, not maybe, definitely if they're choosing it, right? That is what they need in order to grow and evolve. Remember, your soul doesn't care if you're happy. Your soul cares if you are growing and evolving. We come to the third dimension to grow through discomfort, right? That discomfort that forces us to evolve. And every being on this planet plays its own role in that. All right. We can have gratitude for, we talked about the old guard that's being dissolved, the somewhat sinister players, right? We could look at the World Economic Forum. We could look at all of these organizations, right? We could look at the people in charge of them. We can see so many examples of this old guard and what we look at as these sinister people. We talk about, like the dark aliens that control them, right? Still, we can't be playing the victim here. They are doing us a service because they are allowing us to grow and evolve. And some of them, I'm actually getting the hit, maybe growing and evolving as well, maybe having their own come to Jesus moment, so to speak. And I love that as the Christ consciousness, we use the metaphor of that Christ consciousness activating within people. Some are beyond, right? But some may actually be having that change of heart. I practice raw Reiki entity removal as well as aura hypnosis healing. In these sessions, we are able to help negatively polarized entities positively polarize. We do that whenever there is love light present within a being. We offer them this opportunity. And usually they choose it. I mean, honestly, the alternative is to be returned to source. So it's kind of a choice. But they're always grateful on the other side of that. And they get that choice. They have that choice. They have that ability, I guess is what I'm getting at here. So not all of these, say we could say these fallen ones, these fallen soldiers, you could even say, are eternally damned. Some of them are going to be having that light bulb switched on. So it'll be interesting to see, because remember, as we move into the new earth, as we move toward the sort of bridge between the realities, where with the quantum money system coming in and all of that, which we're really going to see, saw the beginnings of it really taking root in Uranus and Taurus, Uranus and Gemini. We're really going to be seeing that coming through. As all of this is rearranging, wealth is going to be measured differently. Value is going to be measured differently. It's about what you offer. That's what true value is, the service that you offer to the collective, the ways that you benefit the collective, what's in your heart. That's what we're being measured against. So it's a whole new realm, and we're going to see a whole new rise in leadership, in the people who have status, as well as the people who hold the abundance and the ways that that abundance is going to be used for good. There's so much good coming, you guys, if you decide to choose that route. Because like we said, 2 timelines, 2 different realities. We're going to see these existing simultaneously. It's going to be more and more apparent as we continue to move forward. We've really seen that contrast picking up since 2020, and it's going to continue to do so. All right, I want to take a look at this chart and see what else I wanted to talk about here. We have a yod going on here as well. And this yod is absolutely fucking magnificent, all right? The focal point of this energy is the sun, the moon, and Haumea. And then the base of the yod is Uranus and Sedna in Gemini, and Neptune and Saturn. Neptune at 0 Aries, Saturn at 26 Pisces. So the sun, the moon, and Haumea are forming an inconjunct to each of these alignments of outer planets here. And these outer planets are connected by a sextile. So this is just amplifying the energy, amplifying the intensity here, really focusing that energy, that invitation for evolution that Uranus, Sedna, Saturn, and Neptune are offering us. And that's like it's almost like, remember how I said Haumea was like the midwife of birthing this new reality within each and every one of us? It's almost like that's the final push as the baby comes out, is the energy, the intensity of that yod. So the yod, for those who are not aware, is the most intense aspect in a chart. It's the most uncomfortable. The Grand Cross, which is where you have 4 squares all connected in a giant square or diamond, and the yod, which is known also as the finger of God. And I like to call it the finger of God, because for anyone who has a yod in their chart, that's essentially how it feels, right? You cannot escape this energy. It's the energy of fate, of destiny, of what your soul was called here to do. Even though it makes you uncomfortable, even though initially, as you begin to go through life, you may not even be aware of it, because those inconjuncts, they're minor aspects. They're similar to squares, but they're not as in your face. So it's that energy that just creeps up on you, that's always in the back of your mind, right? That little desire, that little itch, that little incongruence. It's the point of fate that has to be reached through delving into our discomfort. And the energy at the base of the yod is what supports us in whatever and however it is that we're being called to step into our destiny. So with Saturn and Pisces, this is taking ownership of our energy, right? Our empowerment. No longer being the victim, being the conscious creator of our reality with that Neptune in Aries energy. And that Uranus in Gemini, that is daring to be different, to expand our minds, to open up to new ideas, new perceptions, new versions of ourselves, new timelines, right? Uranus in Gemini is all about the timeline, shifting through timelines. Sedna represents betrayal, loss, and transformation. So once again, that energy of transformation and that reminder to not betray ourselves, because Sedna was betrayed by every man in her life in the story, including her father. But the first betrayal was when she betrayed herself and agreed to do something that she did not want to do. In that case, it was to give herself to a man in marriage, simply to please her father and to please society. All right, so there's this energy of really owning our creative power, owning our choices, owning our mistakes, understanding that those are simply experiences, and it's what we do with that energy next. Where do we take it next? What version of us are we ready to experience next? What version of reality? Really focus on birthing that energy with this new moon, because this is like a slingshot that can project you at the speed of light into your new and desired reality. Let the old fall away, embrace the new, and I'll see you on the other side. Hello again. I'm back with one final astrological alignment here within this chart for the Libra new moon that I wanted to talk about before I posted this video. And it's so funny because at the very end of the video, when we're discussing the yod, I talk about how there's one other aspect besides the yod that is as intense, and that is the Grand Cross. And it just so happens that this chart has not only a yod within it, but also a Grand Cross. The Grand Cross is a little bit looser. in the way of some of the planets are at the end of one sign, some are at the beginning of another sign. So it's not super tight, but it still feels really relevant. And I wanted to ensure that I had gone over this information with everybody. There's just so much going on in this chart, you all. It's it's a lot. All right, but we're going to unpack this real quick before we go here for all those who are interested. So this Grand Cross is occurring between Jupiter at 24 degrees of Cancer, Chiron and Eris at 24 and 25 degrees respectively of Aries, Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius, who is very loosely conjunct Pallas Athena, by the way. She's at 7 degrees of Aquarius. I didn't mention that before because it's a little bit of a distance, but she is lending her energy here. So this is lending strategy. This is lending wisdom as we are working with these Plutonian themes and energies here. Then we also have in our final corner, the sun and the moon at 28 degrees of Libra. And of course, Haumea distantly as well. All of that packed with 3i Atlas and the Shapley attractor, as we were talking about before. So this is a powerhouse of energy. Like we said, some of the planets are in the end of one sign versus the beginning of the other, which makes it a little bit looser, but still very, very relevant. So with Jupiter and Cancer here, we're working with these themes of faith. We're working with these themes of emotional security and stability, expanding that emotional body, expanding that emotional comfort zone was one of the big things that I was feeling from Jupiter's transit in Cancer, as Cancer does represent the fourth house, the home, the family, and absolutely the comfort zone, what makes us feel safe, what makes us feel loved, seen, and secure. So Jupiter here is bringing through this beautiful opportunity for us to have faith in ourselves, for us to have faith in our path, for us to feel safe, expanding into a larger version of ourselves, which is of course what that Plutonic energy is always asking of us. And like we said with I almost said Sedna, with Pallas Athena, excuse me, loosely conjunct Pluto, that's adding to that wisdom. It's helping us to see that larger picture, maybe picker, if some of this has to do with what we're choosing, right? Whether this is relationships, jobs, the timeline, the version of reality, the version of ourselves that we are choosing. It could be helping us with our picker as well. So that may have been a rather apt Freudian slip there. So we've got that gorgeous energy that is supporting us there. And of course, Aquarius is the signs of friends and acquaintances, who and what we align ourselves with, as well as our larger dreams, goals, and aspirations. So that's a gorgeous energy that is really supporting us when we're even just looking at Jupiter in Cancer here and Pluto in Aquarius conjunct Pallas Athena. We're really working with that energy of feeling safe to expand into whatever is next and really beginning to see that larger picture, see ourselves in that role, and get an understanding of how it is that we can get there, as well as who and what we can work with, right? Who is supporting us? Who can we network with? Which alliances are strengthening our faith in ourselves, make us feel safe and secure, maybe are a part of us stepping out of our comfort zone, but in a way that is healthy, and which ones are not. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the video, where we're going to have to be letting some people go, some things go that are choosing a different timeline, that are no longer in alignment with us. So we got all that energy going on. We've got, of course, all of that powerhouse of transformation and stepping into our authority that the sun, the moon, Haumea, the Shapley, 3i Atlas represent. Also that beautiful heart opening, that releasing of density, releasing those old stories, releasing those old patterns that no longer serve us. Definitely looking at when the Libra patterns as well as the Scorpio patterns, because the Shapley is Scorpio, right? So the Libra Scorpio patterns, the energies here when it comes to relationship, when it comes to connection, when it comes to codependency, when it comes to perhaps people pleasing, also when it comes to just living in our integrity and using and wielding our power with integrity, and really having that courage to look at whatever is coming up within the shadow that wants to be seen and understood. For some people, this is going to be like intentions and motivations that are coming to light. For some people, it's like what is most important is really going to become clear during this new moon, and that is going to help align us with that higher path. So this could be around any of these themes, right? We have empowerment. We haven't even gotten to Chiron and Eris and Aries yet, but we've got the empowerment there. We've got the empowerment with Pluto. We've got the home and family with that Cancer energy, that Jupiter and Cancer energy. There's so much to work with here as far as, you know, we got friendships, we got deeper relationships, as far as what it is, where it is that we are getting that clarity and where it is that we are getting that push from our soul to move forward here. Chiron and Eris and Aries, this is absolutely all about confidence. Our wounds around our confidence, our wounds around our ability to show up. And with Eris so close to Chiron, and she's been tagging along with Chiron or maybe Chiron's been tagging along with her, I guess, because she moves a lot more slowly. But they've been connecting and sharing energy for quite some time now. And I'm not sure if it was right before this new moon that they had their exact conjunction. I think it was, let's see. No, they're moving up to an exact conjunction because Chiron's the one that's moving. Eris is pretty steady. She moves a lot slower. So I believe we're moving up to that where they're exact at 25 degrees. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it just happened. But still, even 1 degree apart, they're still very much in this energy where Eris is bringing up within Chiron those wounds particularly connected to feeling left out. Eris was the one who was not invited. She was the one that was looked upon as the problem child when it came to the gods. She was always causing some type of ruckus. They just didn't want her energy in the way. And so she was excluded from a lot of stuff, and she sought revenge because of that, because she was wounded, because she was hurt. So there's that wounded inner child within all of us that may be coming to the surface that says, why wasn't I included? Why wasn't I loved? Why haven't I been accepted? And so if we can look at that and see that wound instead of lashing out, which with that Mars conjunct Black Moon Lilith energy is in Scorpio, no less, is definitely a possibility as well. We talked about that alignment. Luckily, it's part of a grand water trine that is mostly soothing with Jupiter and then the North Node there. So that is smoothing that out a little bit, so to speak, but still, it's highly emotionally charged. So we could be working with some highly emotionally charged material where that is concerned. And what Spirit's bringing through is that this may also push us into recognizing who is in our corner and who is not. But it's like giving us that discernment to recognize, where is my woundedness telling me that somebody doesn't support me versus when do they truly not support me, right? Where am I being overly sensitive? I hate necessarily using that term because it kind of disregards people's feelings. But we know when we're being overly sensitive. Overly sensitive in this context means we are overreacting to a situation, blowing it out of proportion because of our own inner wounds and what that's triggering within us related to our past. As 3i Atlas is coming through and helping us to understand even our past lives, our multidimensionality, we may have a lot of this and this density. Remember, it's releasing density coming up to the surface to be released, surrounding this from other lifetimes and other star systems even. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot to feel through. So allow yourself to feel through it. Don't make any snap decisions. If you're feeling really triggered or irritated, try to get some time alone to really meditate on it, to tap into your heart, because 3i Atlas is really going to help with that. And to see what's really there, see what really wants to be healed, what aspect of you really wants to be recognized and honored. And instead of seeking that outside, give your inner child that recognition yourself. That's the most powerful thing that we can do with this energy, is really allow it to bring to the forefront what truly matters to us, to dissolve these wounds, this deep-seated fears and this density within us, our attachment to our old timeline, so we can truly have this rebirthing experience. We cannot experience a rebirth until we experience a death. So for those, and this is metaphorical, right? So for those who have not experienced or allowed an aspect of themselves, their reality, their belief systems to die, that's what this new moon is going to be about for many. For those who have, it's going to be about the rebirthing. And just know this doesn't all unfold in a day. Even though we're talking about the day of October 21st, we're going to continue to work with these themes as these energies as we move forward. For instance, Mercury is going to be going retrograde in Scorpio and back into Sagittarius Or is it the other way around? I guess it would be in Sagittarius back into Scorpio. That retrograde, I'm feeling like Mercury's getting charged up right now by its connection with Mars and Black Moon Lilith. So a lot of those themes, which are similar to the Eris and Chiron themes, may be coming up for people as well. So just know that this is an evolution of energy. Know that time is not linear. It's very fluid. And so this is initiating or the activator, the catalyst of this process. And we're feeling many of these alignments leading up to. So just understand that as well. You may already very well be feeling this and in the thick of this. Allow it to be what it is. Allow it to unfold. Just pay attention to what's coming up. Be willing to surrender. Be willing to release and let go. And be willing to take that risk to embody that version of yourself that is calling to you. All right. I love you so very, very much. This is going to be the end of this video. I look forward to connecting with you all again soon. If you want to work with me personally, one-on-one, I'm sorry, my nose itches when I channels. Everyone, if you're new to this channel, this may be the first time you've seen this. If you're not, then you know what's going on right now. If you want to work with me, all of my information is in the description box below. I do tarot, astrology readings, galactic astrology readings. I do, and by that I mean we're looking at the fixed stars and the super cosmic points in your chart. I do energy healing sessions, entity removals, past life regressions, you name it, we can do it together. And that is one of the big themes of this energy, I think, as well, with the Libra energy, with the Aquarius energy here. It's not just what we can achieve alone, it's what we can achieve together. But remember, a successful relationship or collaboration happens when two people are healed and whole and come together. So is this about the coming together for you, or is it about the healing? Or is it about both, right? Because it can be both things at once. Okay. Love you infinitely. I'll talk to you soon.